Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another one of the society outreach debates. For many months now, we've been having regular debates. Suad, many of you know, and her team have been organizing events here in the house, and Lord, and I've had the honor and the pleasure of chairing those events. Society Outreach has previously organized debates on Gaza and the effects of war on women and children, role of media in the Middle East conflict, President Obama's speech, Arab leaders and the role of Arab leaders, Iran, and today we're having a debate on Saudi Arabia. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia prepared to defend human rights, civil liberties, and fight terrorism. And I think our future debates, Society Outreach's future debates, are going to be on Libya and women. So watch this space. You will be invited to our next debate. But tonight, even though we may have our strong opinions about Saudi Arabia and human rights and women and lots of other issues, I, as chairman, cannot express them, I'm afraid. And my job is really to chair. And this is a great thing that Suad does, is she puts me in this chair and I have to be neutral because we've got the experts here tonight on both sides of the debate. And then we've got yourselves who are going to do the judgment because although Suad may have told our speakers that they will speak for 15 minutes, actually they're going to speak for 10 minutes each. And then once they've spoken, then you will have the opportunity to ask them questions, make short statements, or have a little discussion afterwards. We've changed the sort of speakers list, if you like, because a couple of our speakers wanted to come in at last. But it's wonderful to see so many people here tonight. But before we start all this, can I ask you with round of applause, say thank you to Suad, sorry, for I'm going to tell you a little joke about this, because when Robert Lacey came here and he came and sort of reached out to me to shake hands with me and he said, "You must be Suad." And he's expert on Arabs, so if he can say that I look like Suad, then obviously I'm going to ask him lots of questions afterwards. But anyway, big round of applause. Round of applause for Suad. That she does each time, and she invites everyone here, and she does all the work, and I take the credit by chairing this meeting. Thank you, Suad. So our first speaker tonight on this very important topic is Robert Lacey. Robert, I've not had the pleasure of reading his book, but he is a journalist, he's a historian, he lives in Saudi Arabia, he's an author of many bestsellers, and his recent book is Inside the Kingdom. And I know that some of our panelists here have shared platform with him, so they must know each other's arguments. But it will be great to hear him. First, Robert Lacey. Big round of applause for him.
Thank you, Nazir. Thank you, Nazir. You don't know your own beauty. You really don't. I must apologize right at the beginning, because I thought I was going to speak second after May here, with whom, as Nazir said, I have crossed swords, or at least politely crossed pens in the past. And for whatever reason, the order has been reshuffled. I was going to wait until I heard what she said, and then I was going to answer it. So I've been deprived of the subject matter of my speech, but we're all going to get it at the end. And it does give me the opportunity to start at the beginning. As we look at this motion. The motion is, and we are having a debate, aren't we, Nazir? Is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia prepared to defend human rights, civil liberties, and fight terrorism? It's not, is the Kingdom doing this job well. I mean, I think on the whole it is doing it well, but it's not doing it perfectly. The question is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia prepared to defend human rights? And I have to say, as someone who's lived there for 3 years, I find this notion very offensive. The idea that we're talking about a kingdom that's not prepared to defend human rights. I mean, they may not do it perfectly. We may have many criticisms to make of them. But as I say, that's my opening point. I also think it's rather, in that sense, I know we're going to have a very fruitful debate by the time we finish, but there's so many other things we could debate about Saudi Arabia. I mean, what in a way has it got to do with us? How, I mean, would we debate about America? Is America defending human rights? Well, no, we would surely talk about what this country does for this. I mean, here we are in our own legislature, concerned with British government interests and British government policy. Shouldn't we be talking about, is Saudi Arabia doing the right thing for the oil policy and the oil prices we have to pay? Is Saudi Arabia doing the right thing for Middle East peace, in which we are all concerned? Is Saudi Arabia doing the best it can for the Palestinians and their brother Arabs? Surely these are the sort of things we should be debating, rather than is the kingdom prepared, as if it's some sort of juvenile tin pot dictatorship, which is its image so much in the West. Now I know my fellow speakers who actually disagree with me wouldn't say anything so simplistic, but I find, as I say, rather simplistic elements in this motion. And for that reason, I took the trouble of getting printed out before I came, and there's some copies around there, of something called the Basic Law of Government of Saudi Arabia. Now, this is the Constitution of Saudi Arabia. It was declared in 1992, following the Gulf War. It's not a constitution as has evolved in other countries. It is the constitution of an autocracy. If you look at Article 5, those of you who've got the copies out there, it says, the system of government in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is that of a monarchy. It doesn't talk about democratic rights. It talks about Saudi Arabia being a sovereign Arab Islamic state with Islam as its religion, deriving its power from the Holy Quran and the Prophet's tradition. And the point of the Saudi constitution, well, I just call it the Saudi Basic Law, as I'm sure you know. The Saudi constitution is believed to be the Quran itself, and so this basic law is a derivation from that. But if you turn to, there's lots of very interesting clauses you can look at. Article 11, Saudi Arabia is based on principle of adherence to God's command. Article 13, education is aimed at instilling the Islamic faith. We may not agree that that is what education should do, but that is what Saudi Arabia sets out to achieve. Article 18, the state protects freedom of private property and its sanctity. Anyway, let's get on to Article 26, human rights. The state protects human rights in accordance with the Islamic Sharia. There it is. It's in the Constitution. So the idea that the kingdom is not prepared to defend human rights is a non-starter, so far as I'm concerned, before we start. It may not do it well, as I say, and we shall doubtless discuss that. But as I say, I do find the sort of basic premise of this condescending and insulting. I mean, does Saudi Arabia look after an abuse? It seems to suggest that this is a centre of abuse in the Middle East. Surely Saudi Arabia looks after the interests of its Arab citizens better than the state of Israel looks after the state of the Arabs who live under its control. Why are we getting worked up about Saudi Arabia? There are two human rights societies in Saudi Arabia. They're only at early stages. One is government, one is independent. But I have visited both of them. I have seen the caseload they take on. They invite Human Rights Watch. They do not invite Amnesty into the kingdom. They do invite Human Rights Watch into the kingdom. They listen to what Human Rights Watch has to say. A few months ago, Human Rights Watch issued a scathing report about what the Saudis were doing in the south of Saudi Arabia and the way they were treating the Shia who live in the south. They particularly singled out the governor of I think it was Najran, for criticism. This report was read by the king. He asked the committee to look into it and see if it was true. And he was told that on the whole it was true, and the governor was sacked and replaced actually by one of King Abdullah's sons. And many changes are being made in the south as a result. We often hear about the intolerance that is in Saudi textbooks. There has been. They're trying their best to root it out.